The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor. Every head in the ballroom turned. My sister Autumn stood on the stage, microphone in hand, her perfect smile gleaming under the crystal chandeliers. "And before we celebrate my promotion to Chief Creative Officer," she announced, voice dripping with practice charm, "I'd like to thank my older sister Blair for showing me exactly what not to become." Laughter rippled through the crowd. 300 people in designer gowns and tailored suits, every single one of them looking at me. "Blair's always been the family cautionary tale," Autumn continued, adjusting her champagne-colored dress. 38, twice divorced, working as a freelance. What do you call it again, sis? A design consultant. That's code for unemployed, right? My 13-year-old daughter, Ivy, grabbed my hand under the table. I felt her nails dig into my palm. Her face had gone ghost white. I didn't say a word. Didn't stand. Didn't cry. I just smiled. A small, cold smile that nobody else understood. If you've ever been the family scapegoat, the one they love to mock at every gathering, stay with me. Because what my sister didn't know was that every brick in her empire, every award on her shelf, every dollar in her bank account belonged to me. Growing up in Greenwich, Connecticut, money was never the problem. Love was. My father, Harrison Whitmore, built Whitmore Design Group from nothing, a boutique architecture firm that became the go-to for luxury developments across the Northeast. Glass towers in Manhattan, waterfront estates in the Hamptons, museums that made magazine covers. I was 7 when I first drew a building. Dad found the sketch on my desk, a library with soaring arches and floor-to-ceiling windows. He studied it for a long time, then ruffled my hair. "You've got the gift, Blair Bear." That was the last compliment I remember. Autumn was born 3 years later. Blonde curls, china blue eyes, a laugh that could charm anyone. Where I was quiet and thoughtful, she was magnetic. Where I disappeared into my sketchbooks, she commanded every room. By the time I was 15, the dynamic was set in stone. Dad took Autumn to client dinners. Mom enrolled her in acting classes and etiquette training. Family photos got rearranged so Autumn was always front and center, my face half-cropped or hidden behind someone's shoulder. I threw myself into work. Graduated top of my class at Cornell's architecture program. Landed internships at prestigious firms. Worked 80-hour weeks, perfecting every line, every detail. Autumn dropped out of Parsons after 2 semesters. "School isn't for everyone," Mom said with a dismissive wave. "Autumn has presence. That's worth more than any degree." When Dad's health started failing at 62, I was the one sitting in hospital rooms, managing the firm's projects remotely, keeping everything running. Autumn posted Instagram photos from Paris Fashion Week. The night before Dad died, he held my hand in that sterile ICU room. "Blair," he whispered, voice rattling, "you're the strong one. You always have been. Promise me you'll take care of your sister. She's fragile. She'll need you." I promised. Like the idiot I was, I promised. Dad left the company, to both of us. Equal shares. 50-50. I was 31. Autumn was 28. The board meeting lasted 14 minutes. "Blair's obviously the more qualified," said Gerald Hutchins, our longest-serving partner. "She's been running half our projects for years." Autumn smiled sweetly. "Of course Blair's talented, but clients don't connect with spreadsheets and blueprints. They connect with vision, with storytelling." She pulled out a presentation, slick, glossy, buzzwords layered on top of buzzwords. She talked about elevating the brand and synergistic creative partnerships and disruptive design thinking. The younger board members ate it up. By the end of the meeting, Autumn was named CEO. I became Chief Design Officer, a title that sounded important but meant I did all the work while she took all the credit. "You're better at the technical stuff anyway," she said afterward, squeezing my shoulder. "I'll handle the spotlight. You make the magic happen. It's perfect." I told myself it was temporary. That competence always wins eventually. I was wrong. For the next 7 years, I poured everything into Whitmore Design Group. I redesigned our entire portfolio approach, developed a proprietary software system that cut project timelines by 40%, mentored junior architects who went on to win national awards. Every major project that put us on the map? Mine. The sustainable residential tower in Boston that won the AIA Gold Medal? I designed it. The adaptive reuse of the old textile factory in Brooklyn that Architectural Digest called the future of urban development. Mine. The Waterfront Cultural Center in Portland that became the most photographed building in Maine. Also mine. Autumn's contribution. She showed up to ribbon cuttings, gave interviews, posted perfectly curated photos, built a personal brand as the visionary reshaping American architecture. Meanwhile, I got divorced. Twice. The first husband couldn't handle my hours. The second one cheated with someone who was less intense. By 38, I had one beautiful daughter, a small apartment in Stamford, and a reputation as the workhorse nobody bothered to celebrate. Autumn had a penthouse in Tribeca, a house in the Hamptons, a 7-figure salary, and a TED Talk about leading with intuition. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see how the story ends. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The Riverside project was supposed to change everything. A $340 million mixed-use development on the Connecticut River. Residential towers, retail space, public green areas, and a pedestrian bridge connecting two historic neighborhoods. The kind of project that defines a career. I spent 11 months on the design. Every detail was intentional. The way light would hit the courtyards at sunset, the flow of pedestrian traffic, the integration with existing infrastructure. It was the best work I'd ever done. The client, Meridian Development, loved it. They requested one final presentation before signing, board members, investors, the whole inner circle. Autumn insisted on presenting. "You're brilliant, Blair, but you're not a performer," she said, flipping through my presentation deck. "Let me translate your genius into language they'll understand." I should have known better. The presentation was scheduled for a Thursday morning. I was supposed to be there, standing beside Autumn, answering technical questions. Wednesday night, Autumn called. "Blair, I'm so sorry, but we need to push your flight back. There's a scheduling conflict with the client. You'll fly out tomorrow afternoon instead. I'll handle the morning intro. You'll join for the technical deep dive." Something in her voice felt wrong, but I was exhausted. I agreed. Thursday morning, I got a text from Jeremy Cole, one of our junior architects who'd flown out early. "Blair, what's happening?" "Autumn's presenting the entire deck. She's telling them she designed everything. They're asking technical questions, and she's just making stuff up. Should I say something?" My blood went cold. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called the office. "Ms. Whitmore is in a meeting." I booked the earliest flight I could. Landed in Chicago at 2 p.m. By then it was over. Autumn had signed the deal. Told Meridian that she was the lead designer. That I was part of the support team. The press release went out before I even got to the hotel. Visionary CEO Autumn Whitmore secures landmark $340 million Riverside project. I confronted her in her hotel suite that night. "How could you?" My voice shook. That was MY Design. 11 months of my life. She looked at me with something close to pity. "Blair, you're almost 40. Twice divorced. You spent your whole life in the shadows. This project needed a face. A story people could believe in." She sipped her wine. "Besides, you still get paid. What's the problem?" "The problem is it's my work." She shrugged. "Then maybe you should have learned how to sell it." I walked out, got on a red-eye back to Connecticut, sat in the dark cabin, staring at nothing. For 7 years, I told myself I was being noble, patient, professional, but the truth was simpler and uglier. I'd been a coward. That ended tonight. I didn't sleep on the flight. I planned. By the time I landed at 6 a.m., I had a list. First stop, my lawyer. Sharon Kilpatrick had handled my second divorce. Sharp, ruthless, the kind of attorney who smiled while filing motions that destroyed lives. I walked into her office at 8:30 a.m. with a single question. If I wanted to prove theft of intellectual property and breach of fiduciary duty against a CEO, what would I need? Sharon leaned back in her chair. Documentation. Emails. Witnesses. A paper trail showing you did the work, and she took credit. "I have all of that." Her eyebrows rose. "Then we have a case. But litigation takes time. Years, maybe. And it'll get ugly." "I don't want litigation," I said. "I want leverage." She smiled. "Now we're talking." Second stop, Jeremy Cole. I met him at a coffee shop in Norwalk. He looked terrified. I should have spoken up, he said immediately. During the presentation, I should have. You were protecting your career, I interrupted. I don't blame you. But I need your help now. Anything. I need you to document everything. Every project Autumn's claimed credit for. Every design decision she's overruled without understanding the technical implications. Every time she's thrown the team under the bus when something went wrong. He nodded slowly. There's a lot. Good. Compile it. Quietly. Over the next 3 weeks, I built my case like I built buildings. Foundation first, then structure, then details. I pulled emails going back 7 years. Design files with metadata showing I was the sole author. Meeting notes where Autumn admitted she didn't understand the technical stuff. Client testimonials praising my work specifically. I reached out to former employees who'd left after clashing with Autumn. One by one, they agreed to provide statements. I hired a forensic accountant to review company finances. Within a week, she found irregularities, personal expenses charged to corporate cards, vendor kickbacks, inflated consulting fees paid to Autumn's friends. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to raise serious questions. I contacted the board members privately. The old guard, the ones who'd worked with Dad. I didn't accuse. I just asked questions. Did you know Blair designed the Boston Tower? Were you aware Autumn approved contracts without technical review? Seeds. Just seeds. Then I made the call I'd been avoiding. Meridian Development. I asked to speak with their CFO, Richard Brennan, the man who'd signed the Riverside deal. Mr. Brennan, my name is Blair Whitmore. I'm Chief Design Officer at Whitmore Design Group. I need 10 minutes of your time to discuss the Riverside project. Is there a problem? Not yet. But there could be. We met for coffee in Manhattan. I brought my laptop. I showed him the original design files, the metadata, the emails, the timeline proving I developed every element of the project Autumn had presented. His face went from curious to concerned to furious in under 5 minutes. She told us she was the lead designer. She lied. Does your board know? Not yet. He closed his laptop. Ms. Whitmore, if this comes out publicly, it's a PR nightmare for both companies. Meridian doesn't do business with frauds. I know. What do you want? I want the truth on record, and I want to make sure this never happens again. He studied me for a long moment. I'll make some calls. Fourth stop, my daughter. Ivy found me in the kitchen that night, staring at my laptop. Mom, you've been weird for weeks. What's going on? I closed the screen. How would you feel if we moved? Fresh start. New city, maybe. She crossed her arms. Is this about Ann, Autumn? Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Yeah, baby. It is. Good. Her voice was cold. I hate how she talks about you. Everyone does. I pulled her into a hug. It's going to get messy. But I promise, when it's over, things will be different. She squeezed back. I believe you. By mid-November, everything was in place. The documentation, the witnesses, the financial irregularities, the client testimony, and the final piece, a formal letter to the board requesting an emergency review of executive conduct. I scheduled it for the week of our annual gala, the biggest event of the year. 300 industry leaders, clients, press. The same event where Autumn had humiliated me. Poetic justice has its place. The gala was held at the Metropolitan Club in Manhattan. Marble columns, gold leaf ceilings, champagne towers that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I arrived early with Ivy. She wore a midnight blue dress we'd picked out together. I wore black, simple, elegant armor. Autumn was already holding court near the stage, surrounded by admirers. She wore champagne silk, of course, hair in perfect waves, smile bright enough to light the room. She saw me and waved, calling out, Blair, so glad you could make it. Like nothing had happened, like she hadn't stolen my life's work. I smiled back, waved. The event kicked off at 7. Speeches, awards, self-congratulation. At 8:15, Gerald Hutchins took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, the board has an important announcement. Autumn's smile faltered. Just slightly. Gerald pulled out a letter. The board has completed a comprehensive review of executive leadership and project attribution. This review was prompted by serious concerns regarding intellectual property, project credit, and fiduciary responsibility. The room went silent. Effective immediately, Autumn Whitmore is removed from her position as CEO pending further investigation. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Autumn's face drained of color. She stood frozen, mouth half open. Furthermore, Gerald continued, the board has voted unanimously to appoint Blair Whitmore as Chief Executive Officer of Whitmore Design Group. Every head turned toward me. I stood slowly. Ivy squeezed my hand once, then let go. I walked to the stage, heels clicking on marble. The crowd parted like water. Autumn grabbed my arm as I passed. You can't do this, she hissed. I'm the face of this company. Without me, without you, I said quietly, we'll finally build things that matter instead of just looking pretty for Instagram. I stepped onto the stage, took the microphone. Thank you, Gerald, and thank you to everyone here tonight. I looked out at 300 faces, some shocked, some delighted, some calculating. For 7 years, I've worked in the shadows, designing, building, making other people's visions come to life. Tonight, that ends. I pulled up a slide on the screen behind me. The Boston Tower, the Brooklyn Factory, the Portland Cultural Center, the Riverside Project. These buildings, these awards, these features in Architectural Digest and Dwell in Metropolis. I designed them, every single one. Murmurs erupted. My sister has an extraordinary gift for storytelling, for branding, for making people believe in a vision. But vision without execution is just fantasy. And I'm done letting fantasy take credit for reality. I clicked to the next slide. Emails, design files, metadata, testimonials from clients specifically praising my work. This isn't about revenge. It's about truth. And it's about making sure that every architect, every designer, every person in this room who does the real work gets the recognition they deserve. The room erupted in applause. Not everyone, but enough. Autumn stood near her table, shaking. Her publicist was on her phone. Her assistant looked ready to bolt. I clicked to the final slide. The new company vision. Whitmore Design Group will continue to create beautiful, meaningful spaces. But from now on, we build with integrity. We credit the people who do the work. And we lead with truth, not just charisma. More applause. Louder now. I stepped off the stage and walked straight to Autumn. She looked at me with something between rage and disbelief. You've destroyed me, she whispered. No, I said calmly. I stopped letting you destroy me. There's a difference. Her hands balled into fists. Mom and Dad would be ashamed. Dad told me to take care of you. So I did. For 7 years, I carried you. But I'm done now. You're on your own. I turned and walked back to my daughter. Ivy wrapped her arms around me. Mom, that was incredible. Security was already escorting Autumn toward the exit. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. By tomorrow, this would be everywhere. Richard Brennan from Meridian approached me, hand extended. Ms. Whitmore. The real Ms. Whitmore. I look forward to continuing our partnership under honest terms. I shook his hand. Thank you, Richard. The rest of the night was a blur. Congratulations. Questions. Reporters asking for statements. At midnight, Ivy and I finally escaped to the car service waiting outside. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Is it really over? Yeah, baby. It's really over. The fallout was swift and absolute. Autumn's removal made the front page of Architectural Record. The Wall Street Journal ran a feature titled, The Architect Behind the Curtain. LinkedIn exploded with think pieces about women taking credit for other women's work. Her personal brand collapsed overnight. Sponsorships pulled out. Speaking engagements canceled. The TED Talk was quietly removed from the website. She hired a lawyer, threatened litigation. But Sharon Kilpatrick buried her in motions and discovery requests. Within 3 months, Autumn dropped the case. She couldn't afford to keep fighting. She moved to California. Last I heard, she was working as a design consultant for a small firm in San Diego. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mom called once, said I'd humiliated the family. That Autumn was fragile, and I'd broken her. I hung up without responding. Some bridges are meant to burn. The office renovation was finished in early May. I'd moved Whitmore Design Group to a historic building in Brooklyn The same textile factory I'd redesigned years ago. Full circle. My office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the East River. Sunlight poured in every morning. Ivy visited after school sometimes, doing homework at the drafting table I kept in the corner. On a Tuesday afternoon, she looked up from her math textbook. "Mom, people at school keep asking if you're the lady from the gala. The video has like 4 million views now." I smiled. "And what do you tell them?" "That you're the coolest person I know, and that you taught me never to let anyone take credit for my work." I walked over and kissed the top of her head. "You know what the best part is?" I said. "What?" "I don't have to hide anymore. I don't have to shrink. I get to build things under my own name. And you get to grow up watching your mom be exactly who she is, no apologies." She grinned. "Does that mean I can tell Aunt Autumn to shove it if she ever shows up again?" "Language," I said, laughing. "But yes, basically." That evening, after Ivy left, I stood at the window watching the sun set over Manhattan. The skyline was dotted with buildings I designed. Towers and museums and cultural centers that would outlive all of us. My name was on them now. Not hidden in the credits. Not whispered in insider circles. Front and center. Where it always should have been. My phone buzzed. A text from Gerald. "City of Boston, just approved the waterfront project. They specifically requested you as lead designer. Congratulations, Blair." I smiled. 7 years in the shadows. 7 years carrying someone else's weight. But the thing about shadows is this: they only exist when something is blocking the light. Remove the obstacle, and the light reaches everything. I wasn't in the shadows anymore. I was the light, and I was just getting started. Hit the subscribe button, like and share to see more of our stories that resonates with you.